Alright everybody, welcome back, and we have an actually very interesting event vehicle. This is the HF-24 Marut. It's a 9.0 Indian event vehicle, which of course means it comes in the British tech tree. I'm going to be straight up front, this is some of the most fun I have had in jets in months. This battle rating around 7.7 to 9.3-ish has been consistently the most fun battle rating in jets for quite some time, in my opinion, ever since all the all-aspect missiles got moved up to 10.3 and above. And during this time, those of y'all who have been watching me for a while might remember, there was a period in time where the only thing I ever wanted to play was the Dutch Hunter F6, which I got added back at 9.0, and was absolutely incredible at that battle rating. Constant down tiers, and just an amazing matchmaker to go along with the great fly performance for 9.0. Well, the Marut is kind of in that same vein. Basically, if you like Hunters, you are going to like this jet. The Hunters don't really dogfight. You know, they're not going to win in a dogfight against someone like a MiG-17 or a Sabre, but they have good high-speed performance and are usually a little bit faster. And so that means that they can just kind of run in and out of battles, you know, grabbing frags, and of course they are excellent in head-ons as well. The HF-24, while being at 9.0, has much better speed and acceleration than the Hunter F1. It's actually a lot more akin to the Hunter F6. Like if we take a look at StatShark, you can see the acceleration is incredibly similar to the Hunter F6 up until you get to the very high speeds. And even then, it is still way better than the Hunter F1. Now, that's not to say it's better in every category than the Hunter F1, because as you can see, it does have worse sustained turn than both the F6 and the Hunter F1. But I mean, really, you're not winning dogfights in the Hunter anyway, so it's not that big of a deal. And the Marut does have a couple of tricks up its sleeve. It pulls a bit harder at higher speeds, which, for War Thunder purposes, can actually make it easier to get some frags, and because it seems to pull more AoA, you'll be able to sit here doing stuff like this, for example, sometimes, which, to be quite honest, this should not have worked. I should not have been able to get these kills that you're seeing in the background. Both the planes I'm fighting do have better performance, but I have a feeling if I was in the Hunter F1, I would not have been able to get the nose over hard enough to get either of these kills. And so just to recap, we have what is basically a slightly slower and slightly worse accelerating Hunter F6 at a lower BR. And I forgot to mention, it gets an Airspawn. That's right, because this is rank 5 and not rank 6, and as an attacker, that means that you get to start in the air. And so, you get a massive head start over all of the fighters on your team, because really, even though this is classed as an attacker, I very much see this as a fighter. In fact, this makes it so fast that by the time you are halfway to the enemy airfield, your team has just taken off. You can even intercept Yak-28s like you're seeing right here, which, if any of y'all have ever tried to shoot one of these things down at the beginning of the match in like a MiG-17 or a Sabre, it is basically impossible. But because you get this performance with an Airspawn, it gives you so many opportunities to get free kills. In fact, in some of these games, I have literally killed people who are AFK because they just didn't expect someone to be this fast. Now, by the time you get this jet, I have a feeling that's going to be much less likely because there's going to be a lot more people playing it than whenever I had this. But you still get the idea. Honestly, I think this jet would be a fine, you know, maybe 8.7 or 9.0 even without the Airspawn. So the fact that it gets the strike aircraft Airspawn is just absolutely ridiculous. And to go along with that, you have what are, in my opinion, some of the best guns that you're going to find at this battle rating. Now, remember how earlier I said that the Hunters are excellent in head-ons? Well, part of what you need in a head-on is guns that hit like an absolute truck. And the Aidens are those. They're very easy to aim, very predictable, and the big thing is they do very, very consistent damage. Now, every once in a while, just like with every other gun in the game after Real Shadow is introduced, you will still be getting hits or crits. Like I just got one right there in the G91. But for the vast majority, you've probably noticed, basically every time I have hit somebody, they die. And that's a big part of what makes an aircraft great for fragging out. You're both able to get to the action very quickly, and once you get there, you'll be able to one-shot basically anything you touch. Now, I will say, I would definitely try and brush up on your head-on kills. Most of my kills in the HF-24 and in the Hunter are coming in head-ons. Most of the jets that you're facing, if they manage to sucker you into a 1v1 dogfight, you are probably going to lose. That's why with a Hunter playstyle, you want to stay fast, you want to zoom in and out of engagements, you want to take the head-on whenever possible. Now, don't go full commit head-on unless you have no other choice, but try and do what I've been doing here and throw them at the last second and get out of the way. Now, you probably noticed I have been talking about the fact that you have very high speed, and that is for 9.0. Most of my games, I have been getting 8.3 to 9.3. So almost all of the jets that I face are going to be slower than me. Stuff like the MiG-15, stuff like the Sabre, and even jets which are faster than you, stuff like the MiG-17PF, for example, are faster by such a small margin that on these maps, there's a very good chance they will pull off before they even realize that they're catching up to you. So your best defense whenever you're fighting someone like this, like I try to take the head on with the Alpha Jet, he dodges it, he's going to try and turn around and follow me, and I'm just going to run away. I get around 3.5 kilometers of space, I turn back around again, we take another head on. This is what your normal gameplay loop is going to look like. The big difference is that you'll be able to get a lot of kills early on compared to the rest of your team because, well, they're all way behind you, 20 kilometers away at the airfield. This does mean that you have a lot less clutching power than something like, a CL-13 Mark VI, for example, because to be quite fair, a big part of doing well in the Marut relies on the enemies flying into your guns. And to be completely fair, most of your enemies will fly into your guns. That's why I'm getting so many kills. But whenever you have people that actually dodge your shots or are in much better performing aircraft, you really need something that can actually dogfight. This does have some pretty funny flaps, but again, against almost every jet in this lobby, you are not going to be winning a dogfight against. And there will be some games when you just basically don't get to do anything because a couple of people decide to 180 for you and sit on your butt, and while they can't catch you, they will chase you all the way to the edge of the map, and there's really nothing that you can do. And that's when you're at 9.0, where, the difference in speed between yourself and a Sabre really isn't that much. Now, what happens whenever you get, say, for example, up-tiered, and all of a sudden you're fighting stuff which is way, way faster than you? Well, the answer is simple. Go ahead and take the head-on. Basically, whether you're in the Hunter or if you're in the HF-24, when in doubt, take the head-on, because there is a very good chance you are going to win it. And I cannot stress enough how important it is that you go ahead and develop your head-on skills. Now, this shouldn't happen too often unless all the HF-24s flooding the matchmaker change the matchmaker, which is possible. But I did go ahead and include the one 10.0 game, which I actually managed to get in here. And as you can see, even in the 10.0 game, your Airspawn gives you the chance to get kills very early. In fact, so early that, once again, I am about to get first strike. Because despite a lot of my team being in supersonics, I am still way faster to actually get to the battle. The biggest threat when you get up tiered, of course, is starting to face those high G missiles, because you don't have flares and you are a subsonic. And so whenever an A4N, for example, or MiG-21 SPSK 180s for you, there's a very good chance you're just simply going to die. Now, I would recommend bringing the internal rockets. They do come in a trade. They don't really affect your flight performance that much. I started bringing them in the up tiers myself. They didn't help that much. I still die to missiles quite often, but every once in a while they would go ahead and flare the missiles, so it is an option if you want to bring that. If you don't mind a little bit of extra weight, it also gets some renamed S-24Bs, which you can fire in head-ons or try and use to flare missiles. But me personally, I usually like having the absolute best performance I possibly can, especially in cases like this where you do have a much weaker airframe. You can also sometimes abuse a little bit of an energy advantage as well. You face some Delta jets in an up tier like this, and while they do have much better performance than you, you can drain them of energy in a spiral like this. And I would have had them if the MiG-19 wasn't here. So overall, excellent plane for Air RB, but this is a strike aircraft, and what do you get for ground RB? Well, to be quite honest, it's kind of unimpressive for ground. It's a strike aircraft that gets access to 4 1,000-pound bombs, and it does not get a ballistic computer. If you're good at aiming the rockets, it is another option. You get quite a few unguided rockets, but for me personally, I find that just bombs are going to be your best bet. And the thing is, at this same battle rating in the texture, you get access to the Buccaneer S1, which gets 4 bullpups and 4 1,000-pound bombs. And they have a ballistic computer. Basically, for ground RB, this is pretty unimpressive. The good news is, if you don't have the Buccaneer, this is a strike aircraft, and it can go along with the Scimitar, which gets access to 4 bullpups, and is a fighter, not a strike aircraft, so they take separate spawn point pools. In any case, I hope you enjoyed the video. I really enjoyed this. I hope y'all do as well. Let me know in the comments down below, and I'll catch y'all next time. So, peace, y'all.